Hey, what's up, guys? It's Joshua Sohn, and after a 1 month long hiatus, I wanted to go over a new video with you guys. Just so you know, I took a little break to work on a movie, and it's still ongoing, but we're close to finishing. It's a Lionsgate film production. I was hired on as an additional music writer, so I'm super stoked. For today, I'm going to talk about 5 tips to be successful as a composer, and let's go and start. Okay, so number 1 is study and listen to a lot of music regularly. What that means is you want to be able to be familiar with conventional and also unconventional writing. It's good to know what is popular and how to write for that style. I think a lot of directors might say, hey, can you make it sound like so-and-so? Let's say Hans Zimmer, Alexander Desplat, James Horner, things like that. And other times they might give you more of an obscure composer, Niels Fromm, for instance, or Dustin Halloran, for instance. Then they're gonna be like, "Hey, I really like this sound. Is this something you can do?" And it's good to be already familiar. And how do you do that? Is by just listening to what's out there right now, currently. Also, besides using your ears, which is your most important skill, I think, analyzing through your eyes and sheet music and on an intellectual level is also equally important, I think. You don't have to read music to be a great composer. However, I think there's more power to you when you are able to read music and know the skeletons of chords and things like that through your eyes and seeing it on a different perspective. So if you can read music, do some sheet music analysis through composers in the past, classical music, romantic, film, modern film music, things like that. All right. Next is there's a concept between active listening and passive listening. When we are listening to music, we got to kind of differentiate the two. So sometimes we're doing an activity and you are exercising, or you're cooking, or you're reading an article while you have the music in the background. So that's actually more of passive listening. What I'm talking about with active listening is when you actually just play the music, you're sitting down or you're standing up or whatever, and all you're doing is focusing 100% of your attention on the music. And this is a different type of listening that forces you to kind of use that time to pick out certain things in the music. So I'm going to give you a good a little activity in this next part here. So what are you listening for? All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and play you a 30-second track. This track is called Spooky Magical Fun, and it's something I wrote. Has a lot of Halloween elements around this time of year. Enjoy. Now, going back to our activity, can you answer these 10 questions just on the first pass? All right, no cheating. Most likely, you won't be able to answer these 10 questions, and you're probably going to have to listen like 5-10 more times to really be able to understand it on a deeper level. And I think partly is because when you first listen to something that's new, there's a lot of sensory overload happening. Eventually you get desensitized to that, and then you can actually really pick out certain things in the track. So again, that's just a case in point here. When you're listening to music and actively listening, if you can, try to use that time to focus on certain aspects of the track. And when you do that, you're going to get a lot more out of it. As composers, we need to do that constantly so that you can actually know the conventions, know the unconventions, and so on. All right, moving to the next topic. Equally important is consistently write music and produce the music. So I guess there's two aspects of being a composer. You are writing the abstract form, which is the composition, And then the other side is going to be your mixing, right? So producing the music from maybe samples, or if you are able to record an orchestra or players, then that's the production side. So being able to do it from the abstract form to the physical form then is what we composers really do here. So let's talk about what it is to be able to write with quantity versus quality. I think it's honestly both. You want to be able to write fast and write a lot, and you want to also make your music sound good. However, if you were to choose between one or the other, what would it be? I think when you start out, especially, quantity is probably going to be better. You want to spend some time on how to create as much music as you can and do it in a way where you have a deadline and you have to hit the deadline. And if you form a habit like that, you're going to actually learn a lot. And those habits will be important to set early on, so that you're not letting perfection kind of hold you back, which leads to my next point. Perfectionism can hold you back from finishing. So not all of us are perfectionists by personality. However, most likely there are certain parts of you that are. So there is going to be a point where you are needing to call it good on a track and put a stop to it, because there's only so much you can do in a given amount of time. Also, again, going back to the quantity and the quality debate, you're going to learn a lot more if you just keep writing, keep moving, and you're naturally just going to get better. Now we're going to change gears from just the practical side. I'm going to talk about more on a philosophical or value side. So what this means is be reliable and follow through. And this is something that you can apply to any discipline or field. Charlie Munger, who is the longtime partner for Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway, is quoted to say, "You must faithfully follow through plans and do exactly what you said you're going to do." All right. I think it's so important because this point is something that I'm seeing myself, and it is starting to hit me as a composer. Last year, I started to make a goal and commit to one video on YouTube a week. But I did not know that following through with that commitment that I made was going to gain some visibility, where another composer who's more established and experienced reached out to me and said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing on YouTube. I didn't realize that you knew all of this stuff," because he knew me beforehand. And he's like, "And I want to hire you on this film that I've been hired to do." So I became an additional music writer. And for the last month, I was working on this film, and currently still. But this is something that I wouldn't actually have got the gig had I not followed through with this other goal, which was not quite related, right? But it just kind of all connected in this really cool, fateful way. I think it's so important to be reliable to not only others, when you make a commitment to a client, but also to be reliable to yourself and follow through with anything that you set for yourself. So build your integrity, and your reputation as a composer will thrive, I promise you. So again, this is something that's more philosophical, and it's a way of life, okay? But do that. I promise you'll get better as a composer. So the next topic would be on the business aspect. Have a system down for your own business. As a composer, you're going to probably have an LLC or a sole proprietorship going on. Now, what I mean by having a system is from all the departments like accounting, customer service, marketing, sales, research and development, and so on, you should have a system down in place. If you don't, this is the time to really explore those and find out how other people are doing it, and get something going for each one. So for instance, my accounting, I have a spreadsheet. I have certain templates that I have set for each month, and that's organized under the umbrella of a quarter and so on. So with accounting, I'm gonna save any invoices or receipts that I've kept for expenses and also for income or revenue, and then I'm going to put that down on a spreadsheet every week, and I set that for Wednesday. Also, you're going to do quarterly reports so that you can analyze how you're doing and see where you can go in the next quarter. Customer service is something that you should have some kind of system down for referrals, for testimonials, reaching out to former clients and seeing if they need work, things like that. And that should be something you can do equally, as well as accounting in terms of how to be efficient with that, right? Marketing, sales, how to sell yourself through social media, through physical leads, things like that. R&D is more of exploring sample libraries, exploring how to make your sound better, if it's mixing or it's creating a template, things like that. Manufacturing is more on the actual nitty-gritty side of music production. Is there anything that you have in place that you do every single time when you make a track? Is it efficient? How can you make it more efficient? Human resources is, of course, if you hire on an orchestra, you hire on some singers or players, how do you go about that? Also, that it applies to mixing engineers, mastering engineers. Do you have a system down on sending them money in terms of contracts, etc.? All right, so one tip that I'd like to give you here is assign your duties and tasks around the week. So here's my typical week. So from Monday through Sunday, I have things that I plan each time. Now, this is in conjunction with what I normally do, which is I write every single day of the week. Well, Monday through Sunday, I'm going to write something for a project or write something new. Okay, so I hope that helps and gives you an idea of how you can be efficient with your time by scheduling a certain day of the week to do certain tasks. And the last thing here is to get yourself out there. Get yourself out there as a composer, but also your music out there. Visibility as a composer is super important, especially in a saturated market. There's so many composers out there, right? And they're all great, but we want to be able to shine a light on ourselves and what makes us different from the other composers. There's going to be a physical presence that's needed, as well as a digital presence. Physical presence would be something where you go out to networking events, you go to conventions. Physical presence with networking is a long-term game. So when you're going out there to game developers conference or going out to a Sundance Film Festival, you want to build these relationships slowly. You're not gonna get a gig probably the next day. A lot of people think that. I have some friends that are like, oh, it's a waste of time. No, it's not a waste of time because it's a long-term game, and these guys, the doorkeepers who are out there, will see you just as another number. And so it's important that if you keep showing your face at these events, eventually they'll recognize you as someone that's serious, right? So it's important to do the physical side, but also on the digital side with nowadays online social media presence is ever more important. So get yourself out there with YouTube, create an Instagram account, Facebook, has Snapchat. I'm not sure if Snapchat's as useful, but again, explore those options. There's always new platforms forming as well. So it's important just to be a ninja in the social media world, because you'll be able to eventually get some work. And I've got plenty of gigs that way just through posting stuff online. Now, the last point here is to offer to license your music, meaning if you have certain tracks that you think is marketable, you can maybe offer that for free or for exposure credit. You can also offer it as pay, but as far as the music, what do you see would be most valuable to that? Sometimes I've done pro bono stuff where I'll send tracks to a young game developer, and they're so grateful that they're gonna actually put your name on their social media page like 2 or 3 times throughout the year. And that actually can pay off because, again, you're just gaining that visibility. Eventually, though, you do want to get your music onto libraries so you actually also get paid for it, and you get opportunities like landing it on TV. And so not only do you have the money that you generate, but you also have the bragging rights, and that is important to show on your portfolio or on your website to, kind of gain some legitimacy as a composer. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you thought this was useful, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.